Our mission is to inform, entertain, and raise awareness towards different players versus player games. The disappointment of Dragonflight having giga queues, giga LFG problems, and Blizzard being silent about the PvP situation led to this series. I will cover a game between 4 and 7 days, with every day having a video about that game with focus around PvP or any sort of PvP. At the end of the 7 days, I will give you a PvP review about the game, pros and cons, and what you can expect from said game. Again, it is not a guarantee that I will cover the game again, but if I like the PvP and I like the game, I will for sure keep on promoting the game with videos and discussions around this game. Again, be sure to like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet, and thanks for watching already, and let's rock and roll. Hi guys, Thogrey here with a new video, and the series will begin with Guild Wars 2. In the intro, you did understand and hear about the mission of this series, and I will make you first and foremost a video about what classes you can play, how do you PvP on that game, and how to set up your PvP build so you can already start from the get-go. And the good thing is about Guild Wars 2 is you can do it from level 2. So you start your initial quest that you get at the start of the game, and then you will jump right in PvP whenever you want and whenever you can. So that's actually a very good thing. You also have a second game mode, which is world versus world. I will cover it in a next video, not the next one. I think the next one will be PvP gameplay, but in one of those next videos, in those 4-7 days, I will cover world versus world and give you the things, the intricacies about World vs. World, which is also a fantastic game mode, which I wish World of Warcraft had that, but unfortunately Blizzard is just stuck in that Mythic Plus cocoon. But whatever, let's start right away. Guild Wars 2 is a game that you can play for free, although it's more of an extensive trial. You should really buy the expansions if you really want to progress into the game, because you will have a lot more opportunities to progress, but also a lot more things that you can do in the game. Now, the base game does give you the possibility to play PvP and World vs. World, but you're limited in the amount of classes that you can play. First and foremost, I'm going to show you the classes, the races, and also what you can expect from every single class and race, from every single class and spec that you can play. Now, if you have the base game, you will only have the base classes and also the races, which are probably just the same as if you have the core game or if you have the expansions. You have the Char, which is pretty much like a humanoid, furry, whatever. I really like Char. It's not really a furry, right? It's like a bull human, I guess, but whatever. I really liked it in Guild Wars 1 as well, although it was more of a foe. Now it's our ally. Humans, pretty basic, but I do love humans. Norn, which is a Viking, pretty much. You have Azura, which are the gnomes of that game, small creatures. You can play that as well if you want to. And Sylvari, which are the tree people, pretty much. But you can see them as elves, but it's like tree people. I'm going to take human for the sake of taking a human. I'm going to take male because I'm a male. And those are the 9 classes that you can play. With the core game, you will only be playing Gore, Guardian, Warrior, Engineer, Thief, Ranger, Mesmer, Necromancer, and Elementalist. I did drop Revenant because I think Heart of Thorns give you Revenant. I do not think the core game will give you Revenant, but again, I may be mistaken. So you have 9 classes in total, and every single class has specializations, but to get elite specializations, that you need to buy the expansions for. Again, if you want to buy expansions, I would highly recommend to click on the link below. You will see Instant Gaming, which is a website where you can buy the games for a lot cheaper, and so you can do more with the money that you have. I would highly recommend that. I did that as well, so I mean, there's no shame in that. I think everyone has to count their money on, and I think if you can really drop the amount of money you're going to spend for the same game, I think I highly would recommend that. So Again, elite specializations are quite cool, and you're missing kind of out whenever you're not playing the game with the expansions, because they make it as cool as possible. The core classes are also enough, but you will be limited in like the meta. I think the meta is really not around core classes. You have some classes that can be played with core, for example, core mesmer, core guardian. I think core thief is not that good, but you can play that. I think core warrior is okay, although I think the limit specialization are just better. But in general, you would like to play soul beast, or you want to play druid, or you want to play like tamer. Those are the specializations of the ranger. Then you should really consider to buy the expansions. But again, you do what you want. Of course, you can just test the game already out, watch a lot of videos. I will make those videos so you can actually make an opinion of the game, and of course then try the game, and hopefully you come back to me and you say, Thogrey, thank you for covering Guild Wars 2. I really like Guild Wars 2. Thank you. That would be the ideal response. Of course, if I do not like the game, I will also say that in the review, but I already played Guild Wars 2, I know Guild Wars 2. Personally, it's one of my favorite MMOs. The only reason why I'm not replaying too much Guild Wars 2 is because I was more focused on Dragonflight, but now that Dragonflight is kinda... yeah, I'm back on Guild Wars 2, and since you can come back at Guild Wars 2 whenever you want, that's a huge plus. Also, no subscription, so what you're going to spend is going to stay, and your gear, there's no infinite treadmill, and PvP, everything is normalized, except in World vs. World. But World vs. World is more about like your guild, your company, your LFG like group, where you can try to get objectives. It's not like purely individual. Like, it's not like you alone are going to like win 1v50. That's not going to be possible. But it's like Zerg versus Zerg pretty much. If you played like RVR in Warhammer Online, for example, or any other game, you do realize that an individual will not like turn the whole fight around, right? Anyways, let's explain really briefly about the classes and why I like those kind. I like every single class, although I will give you the difficulties around those classes. Of course, beneath you can see the complexity. They are kind of right on that. Guardian is the Paladin class. You have magic, which are virtues, which you can also do a lot of damage with it, or defend yourself or defend your allies. It's my favorite class, although I'm not really playing too much. I'm playing more Mesmer, but you have multiple elite specializations that can really specialize yourself into a great Guardian. You can play, like, for example, a Dragon Hunter. You can play like a Firebrand. What is it? What is a Firebrand? Like, it's a support Guardian that has a lot of like damage with domes and such. I really like that. And you can also play like, I don't know, if you want to play like a ninja, you can also do that with your Guardian Druid. Excuse me, Shadowlands, Dragonflight, God of my head. But anyways, Guardian. So I think it's a fantastic class to begin with. It's very easy to pick up. You will have a lot more need to keybind because of the virtues, but it's not like a very keybind heavy game. So for people that do not really like too many keybinds, this game is kind of for you. It is very skillful though. You're going to get crushed in your first match, but you will see that your satisfaction after a while, whenever you're getting better, you have the good build and such, you're going to progress very rapidly on that game. Guardian, the class is actually very cool. Warrior is actually a very, very cool class. I'm playing a few warrior games for the channel, so you will see that as well. It's not the best class in my opinion, because again, I'm very much of a Mesmer. I really like to be slippery. A warrior is not really slippery, although it has a lot of defensives. If you're using it incorrectly, you're going to die very quickly. There are multiple elite specializations that do alter the playstyle quite a bit. You are like a weapons master. You use nearly every single weapon in the game, especially with the elite specialization kind of filling the gaps. And as a whole, I really like that class. If you like the melee, like the basic melee of any MMO, I think warrior is probably the best. You have like a lot of whirlwind abilities. You can really hit very hard, and you can also play like a dot play style. You can play a very tanky play style. You can do whatever you want, and that's actually very satisfying to do. And you have Revenant, which is actually like a class that is invoking legendary heroes from Guild Wars, and it has a lot of magic abilities. And the particularity of that class is it has a lot of stances. So you have legendaries that you invoke, and that will change the abilities you're going to use on the right side of the bar. Right, you have 5 abilities. You have 1 healing ability, 3 support, not core abilities, I would say, and then 1 ultimate. All those 5 are going to change based on the legendary you're going to invoke. So basically, you have 10 abilities instead of 5, which is quite hard to master in the beginning, but once you are mastering it, you're going to have a lot of fun with it. I think it's one of the most fantastic classes in the game, although very, very hard to comprehend at the start. You will have to need a great build around that, but you have multiple playstyles, especially with the elite specialization. Again, I'm going to talk a lot about elite specialization because I think just based on that, it is worthwhile to buy the expansions, but only if you enjoy the game, of course. I think if you enjoy the game, there is no reason to not buy the expansions, in my opinion. But that's my opinion, of course. It has some ranged abilities. It has some melee abilities. You can even play staff. You can do a lot of things with Revenant, and it's very fun to play, although very special to play. Engineer is, in my opinion, the one that I'm really not liking too much. Maybe because of the difficulty, but also it doesn't have a lot of weapons. And most of your weapons are actually gadgets and toolkits that you can have on your bar. On your right side, you get like core abilities, right? If you click it like on the grenade kit, you will get grenade abilities. So you'll like throw grenades on people. Or if you want to play like a flamethrower ability, you can literally take a flamethrower and flame on people. It's quite fun, like fantasy wise, although I feel like it's very clunky. Now maybe I should play a bit more engineer to understand how the fun can be on engineer. But there's like one as elite specialization that I really like, and it is Scrapper. Basically because it has like a big 200 maze and it destroys people. Like you're going to Thanos your way to victory. Now, again, it really depends on your playstyle. If you like the engineer gadget playstyle, it's not for everyone, and it needs a lot of keybinds. So I'm preparing you for that. It's very complex. Also, they are really correct. It's like 3-star complexity. It is really, really complex. And if you want to play like a complex class, I think engineer is your go-to one. A thief is like the rogue of Guild Wars 2, although you don't really have a full-time stealth. Like, you cannot be stealth from A to Z. You're going to stealth, and it's going to have a 3-second duration, and that stealth will change your basic attack to a more deadly attack. And you have like, again, a dual wield. You're playing dual wield, and if you take like double dagger, it will have different abilities than dagger with a pistol, for example, with the one in the middle, like the third ability from that set of weapons changing because of your combination of abilities that you're using, weapons that you're using. It's complicated at start, but once you understand how to play thief, it becomes a lot easier to understand and to all play people. Now, like every single class in Guild Wars 2, the difficulty is, I would say, a lot harder to master than World of Warcraft, because it has a lot more intricacies and a lot more depth into the builds that you're going to use. Although you use a lot less abilities than in World of Warcraft, I think dodging the right abilities, having the visual cues, the audio cues, but also just the more in-depth knowledge on classes is very much needed. The good thing is, Guild Wars 2 is very easy to pick up, I would say, and hard to master, so it means that you can have fun with a little thing, again, that you get, and that little thing you have to turn it into something big, and you will have a lot of enjoyment with just outplaying people. While in World of Warcraft, if you don't feel a class, again, you will have to level another one, you have to gear it. While, for example, everything is normalized in Guild Wars 2, you can basically level it to level 2, go to PvP, and get your journey started, right? Ranger is your hunter class. Again, elite specialization. magnifique. You can play a druid, which is more of a support class, bunker class it's called, that you can really sit on a node and try to defend that node with every single might you have. You have traps, you can be more ranged, but you can also be melee with a great sword, for example. You have pets, which again, like a hunter, but you can also switch those pets in combat. So if you feel like your pet is going to die, or there is a situation where you need another pet, you can just take the other pet and have a lot of fun with it. I think it's one of the most flavorful classes to play in. It's not the easiest class. Again, it is complexity 1 because it is not complex to do a lot of damage, but I think someone that is very strong with ranger is going to make someone ridicule on like a noob playing a ranger. Like for example me, I'm very bad at ranger. I maybe should play a bit more ranger, but I think it's very fun, the amount of possibilities you have as a ranger. And also throwing axes, man. Throwing axes, what do you want more? You don't even have that in Dragonflight, man. Come on. So anyways, Mesmer is the magic class. You have like, again, a lot of magic classes based classes, like for example necromancer, elementalist, but Mesmer is more about illusions, and you are favored to ranged, but you can play also very much melee, and it does a lot of damage. You can shatter your clones to do dot damage. You can do some power damage, so basically like an explosion on the guys. You can also be distorting yourself, so you can also be untargetable, not untargetable, but like untouchable, which is also quite nice. You have also some ways to actually debuff targets. Again, you have a lot of boons, which are buffs. In Guild Wars 2, I didn't explain that, but boons are buffs and conditions are debuffs. Those are the names, and it's very easy to also understand those two things, because again, a boon, protection boon, for example, is always going to be 33%. So you don't really need to learn, this class is going to do 40%, this class is going to do 20%. No, protection is going to be 33%. Slow is going to be X amount of like percentage. Like a dot damage is going to be this, and then of course it's going to be higher depending on the build that you're playing. But it's like the baseline is kind of the same for everyone. So again, it's complex, but also not complex. Anyways, Mesmer, very nice. You have multiple elite specialization. Personally, I like Mirage. If you do know what Mirage is, it is like the rogue of Mesmer. Like you can basically like being dodging, like phasing yourself and do a huge attack. You can destroy people. You can also play a bit slippery, like a rogue, pretty much. I really like that. Necromancer is the warlock of Guild Wars 2, pretty much, but I even say more warlock than warlock in Dragonflight. It has minions that they can summon. They can also play like a reaper, which is like a big two-handed sword going into the action, just becoming the reaper, literally reap and soul versus the enemies. It's very, very effective. I think it's one of the most fan favorite classes as well in Guild Wars 2, because it was a fan favorite in Guild Wars 1. And if you played Guild Wars 1, I think Necromancer was also a very fun class to play, and combining it with, like, let's say, an Elementalist or a Guardian or a Warrior. You could do a lot of things in Guild Wars 1. I really like that game. But in Guild Wars 2, Necromancer is by itself very good, and also always needed in World vs. World as well. Which I don't really talk too much about it, because again, it's open world. You can do whatever you want, and there's a meta, but there is no real meta. You're not going to get shunned because you're playing something off meta, right? You're only going to punish yourself pretty much, but if you like a specific playstyle, you can make it succeed. But anyways, Necromancer, very cool. There's multiple playstyles. You can play condition build, which is again dot damage build. You can play like a power build where you're smacking people around. You can play like a very bunker build where you're going to survive for a very long time. You have crazy ultimates, like, I mean, Necromancer, I love that class. Elementalist is the one that I'm not playing too much. I tried to level 1, but I'm going to say I'm a bad Elementalist. Every time I'm going to jump in PvP, I get destroyed right from the get-go. And there is a meme where downstate, because whenever you're dying in PvP, also in PvE, you get into a down state where you can basically get revived, but also fight your way to victory, pretty much. But you're easily killed, and you have abilities to actually like cheat death multiple times. But if you're going to die, you're going to die, right? and you can res directly when someone dies in front of you. So if you're killing someone or someone kills someone for you, you're going to res instantly. So downstate is the only stage that elemental lists actually are. So that's a meme, and it's kind of true. If you're really bad at elemental list, you're going to really struggle. But they have the power of the 4 elements, which are water, earth, fire, and air. Air is thunder. Water is like the healing, like attunement, although you can do damage as well as water, but it's like more of a healing supportish, like anti-condition attunement. Earth is more like a bleeding, like protecting yourself, and fire is like burning and do a lot of damage, and air like thunder, like it's very mobile. I really like that. You have multiple elite specialization, again, making it even more complex. It's very hard to even talk about elementalists like as a whole, because it's like very different from a specialization to another. You can play more range, you can play more melee, you have multiple builds, and they are also the only class, if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe engineer, but elementalist I'm 100% sure, where you do not switch weapons in game, you're switching attunements. So you're switching between air, fire, water, and earth, and you're not switching weapons. So that those attunements are actually new skills you're going to have on the bar. Again, one of the classes where you need the most awareness on your keybinds, but also more awareness of the abilities you have on your screen, right? Every time you're going to switch to air, water, fire, earth, they are all different abilities, different usage of those abilities. So you do need to know what you're doing with elementals in general. So admit it, you're going to build your class, you're going to play, and you're going to go in game. So I'm going to play with my level 5 warrior real quickly. If you're a human, you're going to end in Queensdale, and you're going to do your campaign. Now, your first mission, you cannot really work around, just do it till you're level 2. You're level 2, you can even PvE your way through a bit higher if you want to, but if you really want to only PvP, you can easily do PvP. So you're in game, what do? Well, on the upside, you can find PvP, that's the tab. You also world versus world. World versus world is everlasting, you can go in if you want to. Now, I highly recommend to not go at a lower level, because you're going to get destroyed, it is not normalized, and again, skill is everything. You get like a HP boost, but let's be honest, your stats are not there, and your skills are not there, and you have to unlock skills in PvE to use it in world versus world. But if you want to do PvP, you go to PvP, you go to home, and you can play just PvP from the get-go, so you don't need to enter to the PvP zone. But if you want to have more awareness on the build that you're going to play and such, I would highly recommend to at least go to the PvP lobby at least once, and then you can just do PvE and just press play, which is awesome. So I go to the enter PvP, and you go to Heart of the Mist, which is the PvP zone where you can buy gear, cosmetics, tournaments. You can do whatever you want there. You're also level 80 directly. You get all the elite specializations unlocked. Only if you get the expansions. If you don't get the expansions, you will only have all the skills of your core guardian or core warrior unlocked, and then you're going to build your build with that. Now, I'm going to show you my build I actually created, but you can do whatever you want. I'm going to show you right away. So once the loading screen is over. Now, my PC is not the fastest, so it could be faster for you. So you're entering, and you're like on the Heart of the Mist. You're a bit lost. You don't know what to do. And what do you need to do to actually be able to PvP, right? So you click on M, which is to know where you are. So you're here, and there are the vendors. So I will go to the vendors. I'm going to buy some things so I can show you how to actually like get gear. Now, every single class, every single spec have different weapons they can use. You can see on the hero tab. So if you go PvP build on the top, you can go to equipment, and you can see the equipment you have. So you have the amulets and you have the rune. Those are the stats that you need for PvP. everything is unlocked, so you can play everything you want and it will be perfect. So what you want to do is, for example, see what build you want to play. If you want to play more of a dot build, or a power build, or a defensive build, or a healing build, you can choose that as well, as much as you like. For example, I'm going to take this one on the second tab, and for example, I don't know, I want to play more of a power build. Let's see, a power build, for example. Let's say Berserker Amulet. We're going to play the Berserker build. So we're going to go for Berserker, and Rune of Strength is quite nice as well, so I'm going to keep it. And then you have your weapons. You can switch your weapons with a click of a button. For me, it is a mouse click 5. So I'm gonna, if I switch, I can switch. Of course, now I don't have a weapon equipped, so I will equip my weapon right away. Can I just equip it? All right. So now I can switch between longbow and double axe. Double axe is quite nice because you have a whirlwind ability, does a lot of damage, and again reminds me of Blazestorm, which was a great ability before the Dragonflight. So if you want to check your build, you can go on the build tab and then you can just put different kinds of things. I'm going to give you an example, for example, with this one. Wait. Let's see, this one is the, I don't want to like override the good build I have. I'm going to take the third tab, I'm going to say video, for video wise. And then you have everything here, which are specializations. If you want to see first the amount of weapons you can use, you can go on weapon skills, and all these things are the things that you can use with current build. Now, if you're using like elite specialization, it can give you other builds, like for example, dagger. With spellbreaker, you can use dagger on both hands, and you will get different abilities. Those are the abilities that you can use. If you have sword on main hand, you will have hamstring, savage leap, and final thrust. If you have sword off hand, you will have rip and adrenaline rush together, and you can of course do different combination. If you want to have axe main hand and sword off hand, you can do that. If you want to have sword main hand and axe off hand, you can do that as well. And then you will have also a Blazestorm ability as a sword axe warrior, although I don't think it's the best build. You can do whatever you want, you can test whatever you want. So those are the items you can use, and you can go then to the vendor and buy those items. So what I would recommend, you have a backspace, you can buy every single weapon here. It doesn't cost too much. You can also just grind it in PvE if you want to. You can also just buy the things that you want to play, and you buy every single weapon you can use. This one, short bow, I cannot use it, for example. Dagger, I can use it because of my specialization. Great sword, hammer, mace, everything you want to play, you can play. That's actually very fun. So you can just buy it, and then you can just equip it. Like, for example, I want to play with... I want to play a different build, so I'm going to unequip this. I'm going to click here because it's easy. You can click here and you can just search for weapons you want to use. So I want to use, for example, Mighty Mace with, let's say, another Mighty Mace. I have double mace. So now I have double mace, I have different abilities, and I'm just going to read the abilities, like for example, counter blow, block the next attack, so you can just block it, and if it attacks, you will then have a counter attack versus that attack. You have pommel bash, because it gives you a daze and also a barrier to yourself. Very cool, it looks like a defensive weapon set. Crush opponent's armor with crushing blow, leaving them vulnerable and gaining might, which is a boon. Gives you condition damage and power, and vulnerability and mighty stacks doubled if you hit a disabled foe. So you can basically go for pommel bash and then crushing blow, and it will give you a lot of stacks for might and also vulnerability. Very cool. And then you have tremors, smash the ground with your mace, damaging your target and sending out a shockwave that damages knock down foes. So you see the shockwave, very cool as well. So it's more of a utility weapon set, and then you can switch onto the axe and then go for a whirlwind attack if they are bashed, for example. It does a lot of damage as well. And then you have, like, for example, your burst attack and your full counter, for example, if you're playing like a spell like the specialization of mine, which is spellbreaker. So again, I think in general you can have a lot of fun with searching builds. If you are going to click on it, you can just take any build and watch what works. And those are like the talent trees pretty much. You have choices to make. So you can go for brave stride, you can go for restorative strength, or you can go for peak performance. For example, peak performance is quite nice. Body blow, you can go for a bleed build, for example, or you can go for a forceful great sword. That's more of a great sword ability. You can go for great fortitude, and then you can just have a lot of ways to have fun with the amount of things you can go for. Gain health and endurance whenever you apply might to yourself. That's, for example, very cool because you have a lot of things that can give you might. For example, crushing blow can give you might, and then you have also skills that you can use to give you might. Here you can see your core skills. So you have your first one, which is always going to be a healing skill, or at least some sort of support skill you can do. For example, what is good is, for example, mending for warriors, but you can also go for other things, for example, defined stance, or you can also natural healing, lose boons and conditions, then heal yourself. Again, it's like all or nothing. You also lose boons, so it's not that good, in my opinion. I think the thing I really like is mending. It's only benefits and also peak performance plus 7% damage. Really cool. And then you have, like, on the last row are your elite specialization abilities from Spellbreaker. But if I do switch to Berserker, you will see other abilities there. Those are the core warrior abilities. So those are the ones that you will always have and you can always use. So for example, I don't know, what I like is, for example, Shake It Off. I really like it. Removes conditions, and there is a lot of condition builds going around. You can go also, for example, with a leap. Where is the leap? Or do I have the leap? I do not have the leap. So let's see if I have a leap here. I don't think I have leap on this build. Reveal nearby foes, make your next attack a critical hit. That's very nice versus rogue like thieves, so you can play that as well. You're going to destroy thieves. Gain a burst of super speed and resistance. That's very cool to actually be able to move around the map. Gaining adrenaline is quite nice as well. Strike foes around you and remove their boons. Deal more damage to foes that lose their boons. That's actually quite nice as well. So if you play versus a lot of boon heavy classes and specs, you can play around that, and it does a lot of damage. And I like this super speed one, so I'm gonna use this super speed one. And then you have your ultimates. You have Rampage, for example, which turns you literally as a Rampage Juggernaut. Very fun. You have other abilities as well. You have also like Banners as a warrior. You have Signets, which has a passive signet and an active. The passive gives you adrenaline while in combat, but also the active, whenever you're going to use it, it's going to give you Fury, Might, and Swiftness. Again, it's an ultimate, so it has a long CD. What I do like to play is with, for example, Rampage in general, but I want to try out Winds of Disenchantment. Creates an area of calm in which foes have reduced incoming boon duration and lose boons every interval. Enemy missiles entering the area are also blocked. So you can play like a bunker build, which is pretty much you're sitting on a node and you try to defend it as well as possible. This is also a very good ultimate if you like that kind of ultimate. So, for example, I'm going to take this, and this is the build I want to play. I want to play with double mace and double axe. And what can I do to just start the game? Now, if I want to play this build and I want to start the game, you press on play PvP. You see your level here. You see the statistics. If you want to see statistics, wins by profession, for example, unranked games, ranked games, for example. You can do whatever you want. And here is the ranked mode, and you have seasons that ends in different time frames. For example, here it's a ranked arena. Queue size is 1 to 2, so you cannot like do a full pre-made. Again, it's solo queue, quite nice, and the mode is conquest. Very nice as well. And if you want to play now you want to play, you press play, and you're just going to wait the queue. The average queue time is 2 minutes, and it's 5v5, and you do not have to look for a healer because everyone is DPS, everyone can heal themselves, everyone can play the whatever build they want to play. And that's something very fantastic about Guild Wars 2. There is no Trinity. So if you want to play a support build, well, you go on the PvP build, you go on the amulet, for example, and you're searching for something that can give you healing, so healing power. For example, the Sage amulets, you can give that to yourself. I think there is also another one, like for example, the Avatar amulets. gives you healing power and vitality. You can also play whatever you want in whatever fashion you want to do. And I think that's a fantastic thing. And the same for world versus world. You can play like different builds and you can do whatever you want. And why would you PvP? Well, for bragging rights first and foremost, because competitive PvP is quite nice. You have also tournaments. If you go to PvP and you go to League, that is the ranked that you have, and you see there is a leaderboard, which is quite nice as well. You have tournaments that are open whatever moment of the game, so you can basically play this tournament if you want to. You can enroll and then you're just inside of the tournament, right? Party size has to be 5, for example. Here you have battles of prowess, and you have tournaments every single time. You can gain gold, you can gain qualifying points, and then you can go on the biggest stage, which is open every month, which is the Cormis Clash. Basically have the biggest rewards, and you can have again a party of 5. You will have to need 100 qualifying points, and that's it. And you see, I'm already in a match, so if I press on accept, I will have the match and I will be able to play PvP however I want. But now I'm going to decline. I'm very sorry, guys. Timeout of 3 minutes. I'm good. I'm going to decline it. Why? Because I wanted to make the video, and if I'm now do PvP, although it's a 10-minute game pretty much, it will be too long. But again, the next day, so tomorrow, you will have multiple PvP videos. I will make 2, maybe 3 videos in one day, so you can see the PvP in that game, and hopefully you will also enjoy Guild Wars 2 as much as I do. Please do subscribe to the channel if you want to follow the series. Do subscribe to the channel if you love those kinds of content. PvP, 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 and there is no shame in loving into PvP, because I love PvP, and if there was no PvP games, I would not be playing at all. Like the video if you like the video. Be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.